Not too long ago, someone asked me if I was distraught over what Trump has been doing in his time in office. Was I surprised or shocked over his actions? And I told him that, to be honest, it just doesn't matter to me. Or to be more concise, it really doesn't matter what I think, because there's not a damn thing I can do about it, even if I disagree. And this got this guy really upset because, according to him, you have to be an activist. No, I don't. The simple reality is, I voted for Trump. Not because I liked him. In fact, I hated him. But I hated him slightly less than I hated Hillary. I never expected him to be a good president, any more than I expected Obama to be a good president when I voted for him in 2008. I did it because he was the lesser of the available evils at the time. And as much as I'd love to stop voting for evil people, I find that unlikely because whether we like it or not, in American elections, only evil people run for office. And that's something that young people tend not to understand. I mean, they're idealistic. They think the world is a generally good place. And they're just wrong. And I'm not saying the world's an inherently evil place. It's just indifferent. That's something people need to get through their heads, or they're going to frustrate themselves into oblivion. I might have been that way when I was younger, but today, I know how things work. And I know that working myself up into a lather over something I have no ability to change, it's just a waste of time. I mean, individual idealism just doesn't get you anywhere. I've talked about this many times, but part of the basic maturation process is learning to deal with the world the way it is, not the way you wish it was. And that's why we see so many special snowflakes on the left, and so many religious zealots on the right, fail as miserably as they do, because they want to live in a magical world where everything goes their way. But I'm sorry to break it to you, but that is not now, nor will it ever be, the world that you actually live in. And I get sick and tired of having to explain that to people. It just makes them whine. It's not fair. Yeah, now you're getting it. The world isn't fair. It never has been. It never will be. Stop pretending. I mean, politically, I've said this before, I never vote for a candidate. Ever. That's because there hasn't been a candidate running from any party in any major race that's actually worth supporting. Ever. It just doesn't happen. And that's because any candidate worth supporting has to be running for the right reasons, and they simply don't. Politics in the United States, and it isn't just the US, but that's what I'm talking about right now, is inherently corrupt. People run for office for power and influence and ego stroking. They do not run for office to serve the public good. And anyone who doesn't deserve my vote. So there's no one running selflessly. They're all being selfish. They all want something out of it. Fame, fortune, and the ability to push an agenda on the American people. That's why politicians run for office. And if they don't start out that way, that's certainly how they end up. Because politicians have to sell their souls for the support they need to get elected. You can't just run on a platform on your own anymore. You have to seek support of huge political machines and massive financial institutions to be able to fund your campaign. And those groups aren't there for the good of the American people any more than the candidates are. They all want something out of the deal. And frankly, I don't want to give it to them. But what choice do we have? I mean, honestly, since there's absolutely nobody running in any party who has the welfare of the American public at heart, what do? You have to vote for somebody, because somebody's going to win whether you do or not. There is no option for none of the above. So the best you can do is try to mitigate the potential damage. You have to vote for the lesser of the available evils. And as much as I wish I didn't have to vote for evil, that's just not an option. Does that make me mad? Absolutely. Does the fact that every single candidate has to sell out to the party structure to get elected? Yes, it does. Does it piss me off that anyone who gets elected has to further wheel and deal to get anything done? Hell yes. Does it make me incredibly angry that just staying in office or getting reelected requires you to constantly sell your soul? Damn straight. Does any of that matter in the long run? Not really. and spending your life pissed off doesn't really change anything. But what about humanity? I'd argue that the overwhelming majority of people are terminally stupid. I mean, they're just dumb. They're ignorant, uneducated sheep that are willing to follow around anyone who promises them a laughable pipe dream because it makes them feel good. And some people want me to be upset at this. Why? What can I do about it? I mean, I'm disgusted by it, moderately frustrated when I have to deal with it directly, but what's the point of being actively angry at it? How does my emotional state change anything? It just doesn't. I mean, my whole shtick is exposing stupidity wherever it hides. I never claim to have any idea how to change it, because I don't think we can, especially not when the vast majority of humans are delusional, self-centered assholes that only care what's in it for them. Fuck the rest of the planet. So, what's the point of sitting around in a constant state of rage over something that, as far as I'm concerned, is unfixable? I just don't get it. I mean, this is my way of raging against the machine while realizing that the machine is fundamentally screwed up and probably beyond repair. It's going to take a lot more than you or me to get things back on track. It's going to take some massive disaster that probably kills half the planet before the other half decides it's been doing things entirely wrong. Well, that probably won't help, because the rest of the planet will just hide in their safe rooms and bow down to more imaginary friends in the sky. You just can't win. Does that mean you just give up? Well, not necessarily. I mean, this is my means of rebelling against stupidity. I've got no false hope that I'll actually deconvert a single theist or make a single liberal see the light of reason. And that's because neither side has any interest in logic, reason, or reality. They operate on emotion, not intellect. And some people defend their ignorance and use it to push their agenda. That's why, many years ago, I came up with the stupid people are stupid fallacy. It's used primarily by the people on the left, although I suppose it gets used across the board, to say that most people are stupid, gullible sheep who don't know any better, and because they're stupid, we have to accept their stupidity, and we have to value their stupidity, and we can't dare tell them that they're stupid because they're too stupid to handle it. We have to cater to their stupidity because they're just stupid. Therefore, instead of expecting them to come up to our level, we have to sink to theirs. We have to act as laughably stupid as they do, because we have no right to expect that they actually get better. If that isn't the most laughably self-defeating attitude one can have, I don't know what is. The idea that failure is a constant reality because people are too dumb to actually fix the problems is endlessly depressing. Unfortunately, forces much bigger than us conspire against us to maintain the status quo. A lot of that you can chalk up to big political and social ideologies that suck people in and don't ever let them go. Well, unless you're smart enough to think for yourself, which seems to be increasingly uncommon. But on the left, you get feminism and all of its associated stupidity. And on the right, although that's not only on the right, but I suppose it's most vocally there, you get religion. Both complain about the problems, but they've got no interest in actually fixing them. In fact, both sides propagate them because without the problems, the ideologies have no need to exist, so they become self-fulfilling prophecies, pointing out problems that they purposely keep around so they can point them out. And people fall for this constantly and are surprised when nothing actually gets done. And that shouldn't surprise anyone who's actually paying any attention. I mean, this isn't a rant, it's more of a painful realization of how the world actually works. Like I said before, you shouldn't give up trying to change the world, but you should recognize that your chances of actually accomplishing anything are somewhere between slim and none. And that's because the majority of people out there are just stupid. They're stupid and gullible and willing to believe anything that makes them feel good, no matter how idiotic it actually is. Changing the fundamental nature of humanity is something that's beyond us as individuals. You can't do it. I can't do it. Even if we join together in a big group, those of us who notice the problems and care enough to do anything about it, we all can't do it. I'd like to think that someday we'll get to a point in our collective evolution where it makes a difference. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm not being fatalistic here, I'm just being realistic. This is the world we live in. If you think any differently, you need to open your eyes. We won't have any better choices for president in another 4 years, or another 8, or another 20. We won't get better, more credible, more intellectual political parties. We just won't. And that's something people need to figure out. Until the American people, as a collective, are willing to demand better, we're not going to get better. We won't get more rational ideologies running around on the fringes, and we're not going to get a better class of people who think first and feel a distant second anytime soon. For those of us in the trenches, it will be a constant uphill battle through deep snow while wearing 300-pound packs on our backs because we're bucking humanity. We're fighting human nature that is not rational. It's not intellectual, and they just don't care. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to recognize reality for what it is. We don't have to like it. I mean, I certainly don't. But we have to learn to live with it. We can still fight our fights in our own little ways, but we're not going to change the world. At least not until the world is ready to be changed. And I see things getting a lot worse before they get any better. And that's a sad thought, isn't it?